Do you audit your competition's marketing? I do, and on this video, I'm going to tell you why and how I do it. So I run a social media marketing agency. We also do YouTube management and podcast management as well. And I run audits on my competitions for me specifically as a service provider and see what other content creators are doing, other people that are servicing in the same field that I do. But also I run competition audits for my clients as well. So if I have clients that I'm working with, which that's primarily what we do, is I look at what they do from a social media perspective, what their product service is, and then I audit the competition that they have. So I audit competition for me, I do it for my clients as well. And in my time of doing this, I have found so many valuable things that have come out of auditing competition that have really helped to give us a leg up in anything that we do, whether it's me specifically or for my clients. Now, here's the thing. There's an ethical way to do this. I'm not looking to go to my competition and directly rip off what they do. That has nothing to do with it. In fact, a good amount of the clients or the people that I work with and I'm friends with are my competition. And also my clients have competition that they're friends with as well. So there's a lot of collaboration that goes on between competition. So I have a podcast where I've had my direct competitors on that podcast as well. I think there's more than enough market share to go around. However, I do also want to make sure I'm sharpening the tools in my toolbox and becoming as good as I possibly can be in my marketing. And I can do that by analyzing and audit what my competition is doing in their marketing. Not just their social media content, but also I'm looking at their emails. So I'm subscribed to their list. I'm also looking at what type of copy they're putting on LinkedIn, what ads they're running and that sort of thing. It does give a lot of really good insight to help kind of critique and analyze your marketing specifically. Now, of course, be ethical about that. That's the number one thing that I would say. There are people that I know that are in my industry specifically that audit competition, but they directly rip off and plagiarize other people's marketing. And that's just not a good way to do business. So if you're going to do this, make sure you're ethical about it. And sometimes I even bring it up to my competitors that I'm checking out. I'm like, hey, could you just tell me what you're doing? And then I can provide some value to it. I can share, just approach it from an ethical standpoint is literally what I'm trying to get at. Another thing to notate is just remember that you really never know what works unless you're directly in the business with that competitor. So the reason why I say this in the first place is because I have people come up to me all the time and say, Josh, I want to work with you because I want to do what this person's doing. I want to get these numbers that this person's getting. And they'll bring up somebody that's playing at completely different rules because they've spent 10 plus years creating content with thousands of man hours involved and invested into their content, and they haven't even started yet, and they're already thinking that far ahead. I get it. I'm a visionary myself. However, thinking that far ahead when it comes to the content game is not the right way to go. Sure, we can put that as okay, maybe at some point that's where we want to get to, but we can't play by those rules. We have to play by the rules that we are set at right now, which is basically the minor league or the little league because we just got started. Now, if you've been doing content for any time, whether it's podcasting, YouTube, or social media, then you can kind of critique these the way that you will fit you and your current level of content creation. But the thing to remember is just also, I know plenty of people that are at these big dog, the levels of the audiences, and I've worked with them personally and still do, where they have millions of followers and they are constantly critiquing and looking at what other people are doing as well, because they may have content out there that appears to be working and doing well, but on the inside, they're stressing and saying, why isn't this working? Well, other people are saying, I wish I could have those numbers. So just keep in mind, that kind of stuff happens all the time. It's so frequent and it's kind of ridiculous and funny at the same time, but you just have to remember what we're doing is we're taking what other people are doing, analyzing it, and not just matching it one for what we're doing, but figuring out what emulation process we need to go through in order to make it fit our business needs and marketing specifically. So the way I look at this is in sports, you have, obviously as an athlete, one of the things that you're doing is practicing your own game. However, you should also be learning from other people, your competition. It's like watching game film. So you hear in the NFL or football, or it could be college football, high school football, where players are constantly consumed with watching game film of the other teams, seeing what tendencies they do, what type of offenses are they running, what type of defenses do we need to set up for this offense, how frequent are they running the ball, how frequent are they passing the ball, how frequent is the quarterback scrambling. There's all these things that we look at as an athlete that you're trying to analyze and study the competition so that you can match on your side what you're doing to play against what they are doing. So For me, that's the way I look at it. And that's the way you should look at it as well, is you're watching game film. That's essentially kind of what it is. You're studying what they're doing. You're studying your competition's movements, how they're managing their marketing, how they're tweaking it, what type of, ads they're running, what type of organic social content they're running, how often are they posting on social. Those are the kind of things that I'm looking at to try to determine, will that fit my needs or my client's needs, depending on who I'm auditing for? And just look at it. There's a lot of things that you could kind of piece together and puzzle together. The number one thing I'll encourage you to do is to not get overwhelmed. Don't try to do everything at once, because then that becomes a problem and creates chaos. But I'm looking at it to try to decide and pick and choose what ideas I'm pulling away from them. And it is very valuable. There's a lot of things that I've come away with that I've tested myself that have worked well. Great example is years back, I was reading the book Tools of Titans by Tim Ferriss. And I realized very quickly, I'm like, some of this content seems like it's pulled from a podcast. And it was. He has his podcast. And Tim Ferriss literally took a book and created it from a podcast. So I tested it myself. And even though Tim Ferriss isn't my competition per se, then I'm like, well, I can study what he's doing and take it and apply it to me. So I created a book funnel product. Basically, it's like, if you have content, if you have a podcast, I can take that podcast content, create it into an actual book and then sell it as a book funnel piece or just a book in general. I did that with myself, and I've done it for about 10 other clients, and it's worked extremely well. I got that idea based off of him. One of the ways I was able to create my business as a whole, literally, like, just the idea of chopping up content is where I started, was from Gary Vaynerchuk years ago. I've been following him since like 2013 or so. And he had started talking about chopping up content, taking content, repurposing it, and that sort of thing. And I literally started doing that for clients because of the ideas that he gave me. Gary Vaynerchuk is not my competition. However, I was studying what he was doing, decided I had a skill set to be able to actually do that and execute it at a scale level. So I did it and then turned it into a business model. And now we've been able to make millions of dollars just off of an idea that Gary Vaynerchuk did not tell me about. He just started putting content out about. So I studied what he was doing. So what this comes down to is not just your competition, but also studying what other people are doing. If there's a certain way that a donut shop is creating videos, maybe I can take that and apply it to my business. And now I have a little bit of an edge, because not really anybody else in my industry is doing that same video, because I took it from a donut shop, which is not in our competition realm. So I'll wrap this up with saying, if you have not already, make sure you have audited your competition. Write down your top competitors, go through, look at their websites, look at their social media presences, and just determine what works, what doesn't. What ideas can I take away to implement into my strategies in marketing or content, and then run with it. Start crafting and innovating ideas. I think one of the number one things that people are scared of in business is testing marketing, because it seems like a waste. There's some of the best marketers will tell you that 95% of the things that they do don't work, and only 5 to 10% do work. But that 5 or 10% makes up millions of dollars in revenue for their businesses. And that's really the truth of it. Test your marketing, figure out what works for you, and then run with it. And don't stop testing. This is the most important thing. Some of the people that sit in their comfortable little silos and just run with the marketing that they do, they don't keep up with the times, and it eventually falls apart at some point. So audit your competition. This will keep you on edge. This will keep you focused in the game and allow you to really innovate your marketing efforts. So while there's not really any tactical things to take away from this besides go audit your competition, I hope this gave you a little bit of insight as to why it is important to audit your competition and how I do it in the first place. So if this video did bring you value, make sure you give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And then if you are interested in talking about this more one-on-one, I'd be more than happy to do that with you. Just find me on Instagram or Facebook. Send me a direct message. I am verified, Josh Culler, and just look for that there and you'll find me. Also, leave a comment below if you have any further questions, and I can shoot other videos on those comments that you have down below. Thank you for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one. See ya.